if that will. All right, excellent. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. All right. So our two key focus areas that we're working on right now are education and financial stability. I'm sure you know, I know there's a lot of things that need improvement in our county and in our communities, but these are the two kind of channels that we're focusing on at this time. Education, there's a lot of scary statistics right now in our county. The biggest one that's kind of glaring is that 3 out of 4 third graders are not reading proficiently right now. And that's a big deal because what happens after third grade is kids are no longer taught how to read. They're expected to know how to read, to learn. And when kids are not reading when they enter fourth grade, they,
Yeah.
statistically, it's just an uphill battle for them. So we focus on early childhood education to prepare them for kindergarten and so forth. Also, there are a lot of adults in our county that don't have their high school diploma. That's another area that we're looking to change. Why financial stability? Have you heard of 211, the service 211 before?
Yeah.
Okay, so what that is, it's a 24/7 hotline, so to speak, with an actual person always there available. They provide referrals to agencies or services needed for people. Like if somebody is struggling with something or they don't know how to get help, they can call 211 anytime and they'll get a referral or direct referral somewhere that could provide them the help they need. So the number one need in our county is people are struggling to pay their rent, utilities, and prevent homelessness. So that tells us that there is an issue with financial stability, being managing money, paying bills, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a big reason why we're focusing on that area. So education, we have a few main programs that are addressing some of these topics. One, we have a GED scholarship, and that is available for anyone in Pinal County. If you know anybody who doesn't have their GED and they are looking to get it, we will pay for that, the testing for that. Everything is done online on our website. So any of these programs I'm telling you about, you can send people to our website to apply and get connected that way. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library mails books monthly to children aged 0 to 5. That encourages, family bonding, connection, and getting kids familiar with books and getting them in love with books. And so that way, when they hit kindergarten, they've been read to, they know some basic words, they're ready to continue their educational journey. Footsteps to Brilliance is an interactive literacy app for children. It actually goes a little bit beyond age 5. But we have, thanks to a grant and a cooperation with or support from that app company, that's offered free currently to everyone in Pinal County. So that is something they can get from our website and access that. And then the last one on the slide, Family Friend and Neighbor Program. So this program was created out of the concept that there are very young children who unexpectedly suddenly have to go live with grandma and grandpa. They have to go live with aunt and uncle or a close neighbor friend or whatever the situation may be. Those people aren't really typically ready to bring on, a young child in their home. They don't have the educational supplies or toys or maybe the knowledge of fresh in their mind, what to do with a 2-year-old, step by step. So we come in, we provide training, resources, educational supplies and toys, things so that that child can, hit their benchmarks and start kindergarten, where they need to be and not behind. So financial stability, we have some programs we're addressing that subject with here. Transportation assistance program. Low-income families can apply for help with repairing vehicles. Again, that's on our website. And then we do a referral program for people who are maybe recently released from prison, or they had some sort of trauma and they're starting kind of from scratch. People who have a job and they're typically walking or getting rides. So we provide them with a bicycle, a new bicycle, helmet, lock. That way they can take their life a little bit more into their own hands, make sure, they get to work easily, more easily than walking at least. Rent and utility assistance, same thing. That's for our low-income families. They can apply online. With these assistants comes a financial education course, very introductory, not very long at all, can be done online or in person. And that the goal is for us, we want to provide them the financial assistance they need, but then also give them some sort of foundation so they can try to prevent getting in that same situation in the future. So, working within their income range, working with what the money they do have to, spend within their limitations, and hopefully save something for, those unexpected things that happen to all of us eventually. So, two other programs here: My Free Taxes, completely free tax preparation. There is no income minimum for that, maximum for getting the free tax filing for state and federal. However, if you do need one-on-one help in person, I think that's for individuals making $60,000 or less per year. And then single care prescription discount. We have these cards we distribute throughout the community. You can also get the info on our website, and they work at pretty much any pharmacy nationwide. And as you can see, we've saved a lot of money for people here in Pinal County, over 3.3 million in Pinal County since we brought that program in about maybe 7 years ago. So that's there. This just a little more information about us. We're very big on transparency, financial transparency, just transparency in general. And if you or anyone ever wants to take a look at our organization, like it's essentially under a microscope, we have independent financial audits and all of our information on Charity Navigator and candid.org. If you're not familiar with those two websites, they're nonprofit websites that essentially review other nonprofits and, against certain criteria and holding them to standards. And then you get a rating for your organization based on what you provide to them and how you're, doing your work. So we're proud of that we have the highest rating for those two. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing. So just that's kind of how we're operating. And I'll tell you, your friend Mark, if he's working with United Ways on a national level, he's probably been exposed to all sorts of different United Ways. Prior to like 5 years ago or so, most United Ways were kind of an administrative organization that would fundraise at large corporations, collect, those dollars, and then distribute them to smaller nonprofits in the community through a grant process where they would apply on the United Way website. A United Way would have a committee review all the applications and then distribute funding. And times have changed, with the web and everything being so accessible at our fingertips, that wasn't really a viable way to operate anymore. So we don't do that anymore. We have our own programs that I just kind of ran through with you. We do work with other organizations a lot. That partnering is a huge thing we do. We do that a lot. Occasionally we'll sponsor other nonprofit events. Like I know I sent in, we like to sponsor Superior Little League. We're a sponsor out there. And so we do some sponsoring, but nothing like the scale we used to do in terms of United Way grants directly to nonprofits. But partnering is what we're all about, and getting, whatever we can do to get more people together to do more good things in our community, we're all for that. So I was very excited when you reached out, because some of the key words you said to me, were that, we're actual real people here in Superior on the ground, doing work. And Pinal County is the size of Connecticut geographically. It's spread out. And we are a small organization. We have myself, we have our accountant, and then we have the boss, our CEO, and that's it. There's three of us. And a lot of United Ways have much more people. They have departments and things like that. We're kind of a very lean organization, and we have a few other employees in our FFN program. They have education certification. They're essentially certified teachers, and they work directly with those childcare providers hands-on, but they aren't really involved with our overall operations. Or so then that's kind of my 5-minute speech to kind of introduce you and give you a snapshot of who we are, what we're doing. But I am very excited that you reached out, and I think, looking at your website, personally, I have a big passion for the environment and sustainability, and that is like a personal, like I love to hug trees, and I have a green thumb, so that speaks to me personally. United Way as a whole, we are supportive, and we love that. I think right now our first priority is more directly human impact, and whenever we can support the environmental causes at the same time, win-win. So
That's basically what it, like for us, it's like we are taking the place as a whole, and this is what we're supporting. So you optimize a part, you can sometimes create unintended consequences in other parts, depending on how it's done, right? So like we're holding the whole as a place. So the human stuff and the natural stuff, it's all part of the place. So so I think it's very similar in what you're saying. I mean, what I'm seeing is that y'all decided to take make these the two levers that you're going to put pressure on. And that makes a lot of sense because you want to focus, and now you have these programs that you're running. So what does success look like for y'all this year?
this year, that's a great question. For us this year, I think there's a few things. So we've kind of been in a transitional state since about 2019. I've only been an employee here for about a year and a half. Prior to that, I was 3 years volunteer on the board of directors, and then prior to that, like 5 years just volunteering and kind of
Dang, cool.
connecting. So, but we got a new leader in 2019, and our other third employee was fairly new, like right a year before him, and so we're all fairly new-ish, and we're trying to take what our predecessors have done and carry that forward. But for success for us would be to continue to grow our partners. The amount of people we're connected and working with, like yourself, would be to grow our contributions, specifically through grant funding and corporations, companies, larger companies like that, so we can add more to our programs and help more people. And then I think third would be we do have one more position that eventually we're going to hire. I think if we can do those first two things well enough, we should be able to improve our budget to bring on that what's called a community impact manager, which is a very important role. And they're essentially the person on the ground all the time, responsible for connecting to that event or setting up this this food drive, or right now myself and the CEO, we're both doing those things in addition to our job, but we really need somebody who can take the reins. And
100%.
yeah, so that would be success for this year, one step at a time. Success 10 years from now would be we're out of business because our community is just thriving and amazing. I think 10 years, I don't think we can get there in 10 years, but I think we're on the right track for some of our areas. So what about for you? What would success look like for you this year?
Nice. Yeah, so that is great. So thank you for saying that.
Mhm.
We're almost at the point where I can say that we have like good enough coherence organizationally and what those things are. We're so close to being able to nail them down. We've been going through this whole developmental process with some of our mentors or advisors, whatever you want to call them. as we've been going through this thing. So we're close. So if you permit me to hold back on that a little bit for now.
Oh, sure,
uh,
no problem.
I think I'm just seeing some connections here, and I first want to get an understanding though of like budget wise, where are you program heavy, or where's
We're
the
pro
focus of the budget?
we're program heavy. We typically like to operate with at least 85% of our total budget going directly into the programs, and that's where we've been at with our based on our audit results for the last few years. I think we're sooner going to get our most recent audit results back. I think that one might be a little wonky because it was from the prior fiscal year when I was just hired. I hadn't had a chance to go out and connect with businesses and get more grant funding. So I think that one might be, I'm not sure how it's going to look, but I know the next year it's going to look great. And it's going to be more like 90% plus into programs directly. So that's kind of how our
Okay. So now within the program budget, how much, like, is there a certain percentage roughly, or just a general sense of how much of that is set for paid work hours for people to do stuff, like especially people on the ground?
uh so the only paid work hours from our budget would be for our employees, which is
That's
three
bad.
of us.
Hey, here's a Lisk Phoenix. They helped start. I think they helped start Vitalist Health
Okay,
Foundation.
I'm familiar with
Any,
Violence.
anyway, I was giving a presentation to one of those groups, and I shared something that an elder told me once, and it's sin dinero no baila el chango. And it's something like if without money the monkey don't dance. And
Okay,
I,
I knew it all except for what Shango was.
yeah, nice. And there's really something about that I like, we've seen personally, is like, here we are doing work not for the community, but we're doing it with the you say the community, it's a very abstract term. When it gets concrete is when it's like, Mary Martha, who has to decide between helping at the garden this Saturday or driving to Phoenix to like Uber or DoorDash or something to make money to pay their rent. I mean, you mentioned financial stability as being a thing,
Mhm.
and like what we've seen, a huge boon can be normalizing the idea that people in their neighborhoods can get paid to help their neighborhood. Like, very simple. Is like you help the financial stability come about in some ways by paying them to work towards making the neighborhood better. So
Is
I
it?
was I was really crossing my fingers that you guys have made that jump, because then you'd be able to help me get a bunch of people to do a bunch of this stuff, like very in a very good way, because now it's not just help out if you can. It's like, this is the job. Do you agree to doing this? And there's a more of accountability, there's more reliability, blah blah blah, when you do it that way.
Hmm.
So if your plan here is to just do it all off the back of volunteers, then I think we can probably get creative if you'd be interested in this. If we can find some ways that we can together go after some grants. If you guys would do the grant administration, it's annoying for us to do. It's expensive organizationally and otherwise. But if we could get funds for work hours to do some programs that we're jointly putting together, then I think we'd have something. I think they're going to be more likely to say yes, because
Oh
United
yeah.
Way, great name, and like the fact that like we're actually helping solve the financial stability thing by putting people to work to help all these other aspects, like even just help the education program, or help, like, they can still be moved towards helping the
Mhm.
programs you already have. I'll give you one example of how I'm seeing this in my mind is like Leo's Community Development Center. You saw a bit of that if you saw the video.
Mhm.
So this could be a place where we could have some parties where like you have a party, and at the party you learn about these different resources that are there. But that means we're paying someone to host the party, and we should, pay if they're gonna set it up, get a deck, make it cool, make it fun. Maybe we want a DJ there, so we're paying for a DJ. Make it and I think if you have program money for maybe some of those other things, like if we could create these like joint projects that have like a very clear start end with like a couple aims, good way for us to work together. I think these resources you're talking about are awesome, and there's just more to them to make them happen. Like with a neighborhood social context as part of the glue for some of them, it makes it more accessible. Like we might have to have some reading parties or something, that in order to do it. So it's like there's more than just a program. The program is good, it's content, but it's always going to be in a context, and that context is the household and the neighborhood. So we can help create some context for it by having a reading party, or like this one right here, the Family, Friends, and Neighbor program provides training and resources for in-home care for children ages 0 to. That is awesome, Joseph. This is great. I mean, hey, I do have to sometimes because I can get carried away in excitement. I'm very excited about what I saw. So, I was kind of like, just taking it all in, but just so to reflect back to you, I'm very happy that y'all are doing this stuff. And I think that it's one thing to have the things, but it's another thing for them to actually unfold with real humans touching them and doing the thing. And that's that's what we want. That's what you want. So I think there's some good stuff there. So I would recommend, not now, but we put some, if you're up for it, could we design some events, that can be held there at the community center that would be around doing some of these things or advancing them. And then we can probably get these things into the hands of people. And I think there's more too, but
yeah. I when you were mentioning, paying people to do the work, I'm curious, do you have, and I get the examples of the venue and the DJ. Do you have examples of like, or experience where you have paid like a group of volunteers to, go build something or to work on this? Or are you talking more like for people?
Yes.
Oh, you're okay.
Yes.
What does that look like? Like,
Yeah. I'll share my screen here if I'm able to. If you can enable that for me somehow.
okay, that should work.
Yep, got it. Thank you. Okay, did you notice the Lear Gardens being built in those videos at all?
Yes, I did notice.
So in some of those people are volunteering because they want to do it. Some people are actually being paid to do it. So Miguel,
Okay.
he just loves to do it, and so he's a veteran. I found veterans and women are the ones who are really the most engaged in like doing community work. Maybe not a surprise. So he's volunteering. And then let's see. I think we got and then Daisy, she's paid $15 an hour to build the gardens.
Okay.
It's a great opportunity for her. She's happy about it. She loves it. We're happy to pay her.
Awesome.
And then Miracle Martinez, who is someone who may be a board member soon, but she's someone who runs some programs, some of the youth programs that we do. She's there from 1 to 5 on Fridays to do that. Sometimes she'll host an open mic. She's hosted like a movie night and some other things multiple times, and she gets paid, $15 an hour to do that.
Okay.
And that works so great. It's a win for her. It's a win for us.
Yeah. Do you issue like a 1099 then to those folks, or how does that work in terms of like reporting?
So we've gone the easy route, the double-edged sword route of you for those kinds of things so far, using a fiscal sponsor. For some of it, we use a fiscal sponsor and they just do whatever they do and we don't have to think about it. When it comes to the people that we pay, we just do a 1099 and just keep it simple. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. That's so just to warn you, I have a countdown timer. Did you see that timer too?
I did. Yep.
Okay. So it says we have a couple more minutes. I think yes, I'm definitely interested in an event. I think, and I also would be interested in inviting you to some other events if you're open to traveling out of Superior a little bit. Like I can tell you now in the fall, us, Pinal County government and Pinal County Attorney's Office, we're looking to put together like a youth fair kind of thing in Coolidge. Because it's kind of mostly central to the county Coolidge area. We found a good school. I know there's nothing probably central for you guys because you're kind of on the edge. But that's something in November. I can send you the date for that. But that's
Cool.
something,
Yeah.
you could bring a booth, a table, an activity, something,
Nice.
and let people know you're there and do what you do. Um,
Cool.
yeah, and I'm also interested in some sort of event in Superior as well that we could work together on.
Yeah, yeah, and we're gonna have an event on March 25th. It's a fundraising celebration event. So
Okay.
we're looking to retire the loan that we have for the community center building. So
Okay.
we started with 65,000 left on the note. Flynn Foundation came in with 15, so
Okay.
we've got about 50 left to go. And so if United Way has any funds that they want to support this cause, that's very welcomed.
Okay. Uh, and you said that would be to get you ownership of that building for
Yeah.
the Leo Center. Great. Okay. Yeah, I know we don't have funding for sponsorship. I mean, if we did, it would, like, when I'm talking sponsors, like $200 or something here.
Oh
Like
yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
that's kind of the scale where
Yeah.
we're at.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
For now, but
Mm.
if I do my job right, we can scale up in the next few years with all these new businesses coming into our county, and we hope they are going to give back to the community in some way or another. So um
Nice.
that's, maybe we could schedule a follow-up meeting call,
Yes.
and
Most
that
definitely.
one that won't be cut off.
Yeah.